Today I'm in St Erth in the far west of Cornwall in the UK, and this is the parish church. Just inside the entrance to the churchyard is this large memorial to the dead of the two world wars. On the front face we learn that it's erected by Helen Carter in the memory of her husband, Major Herbert Augustine Carter, VC, Victoria Cross, of the Grenadiers Indian Army, who died in 1916. On the sides, on two levels, we have a list of names of others who died in those wars. This is the left-hand side of the memorial, and it lists 10 names who died in the Second World War. Elizabeth, the wife of John Williams of Hale Foundry. Now, Hale Foundry was a very important employer in this area, very key in the Industrial Revolution, and worked very closely with Richard Trevithicks, who was of course a Cornishman. Elizabeth Ellis Poole, she died in 1855, aged 16 years. A very clear one here, although leaning at a bit of an angle. This is 200 years old. Philippa Ellis, widow, who died in 1821. And Thomas Parminter Cardell, 1824. And another Ellis below that. 200-year-old memorial, very, very readable. This is for William, the husband of Anne Hodge of this parish, 1827. Two very large memorials alongside the path here. The top inscription is to Major Herbert Augustine Carter, VC, the 101st Grenadiers, who successfully went on active service in British East Africa. Beneath that we learn that he led a column to the relief of, I'm not quite sure I can read that, sacrificing his life in so doing, 1916. To the right of that, the second memorial reads Conway Richard Dodds Carter MA, for 25 years Vicar of St Erth. This one is so clear, so easy to read, and it's William Trecease, who died in 1872, and his wife Anne, and William, their son. And beneath that we've got some details of the grandsons. The church is 14th century, although there obviously has been some rebuilding in the intervening centuries. Let me just repeat that. This church is 700 years old. Close to the church itself are some very large tombs. This one here has a very clear inscription on the outside. And we read it's Christopher Hawkins, Armiger. This is a very picturesque spot. Very beautiful, very peaceful. A very readable inscription here. Anne, the wife of Samuel Trevithicks of this parish, 1862, aged 62 years. And beneath that is Samuel Trevithicks, 1877. A wonderful design on this casket, stone monument, and the inscription on the end is "Make out as Elizabeth Davies." Well, sadly the entrance to the church today is padlocked up. I really would have liked to have seen inside this wonderful old church. James Lithlin, son of John and Priscilla of Tregenhorn in this parish, 1849. There are several of these old Cornish crosses here. These are centuries old and would have originally been in the parish at various road junctions or places of note. And they've been repositioned in the graveyard here. But these would date back many, many hundreds of years. Leaning at a crazy angle is Thomas Bennett's, who died in 1836, aged 44, and his wife Mary, who died in 1861. Certainly one of the tallest, if not the tallest, of the memorials here. On this side the name is Theophilus Code, and on the other face we have Richard Veal Hampton, who died in 1885. Another one of these large Celtic style crosses, and on this one we learn that the dedication is to Nanny Sophia Garbell Williams. Rosetta, daughter of Edward and Grace Phillips, 1900, and another daughter, Louisa, their eldest daughter, who died in 1916. As you would expect, some wonderful Cornish surnames. Thomas Trehuella, born in 1780, died in 1855. At the top of the graveyard we have this very large tomb, a memorial, and the names on it are Harvey. Now Harvey owned the Hale foundry and were extremely important employers in the area. And behind it is this tall one, and this too is to various members of the Harvey family. Close to the two large Harvey memorials is this one to the Trevithicks. Now Richard Trevithick, the great engineer and founding father of the Industrial Revolution, married one of the Harvey ladies, Jane Harvey. Richard is not buried here. Richard died down in Kent, but Jane is buried here, although I can't spot her name on this memorial, but she is buried here with the rest of the Trevithicks. And from the Harveys and Trevithicks we come down to this other plot at the top of the graveyard, which is to the Wests. William West was also a leading role in those early days of the Industrial Revolution. And here is the memorial to the great long-suffering Jane Trevithick. Jane, widow of Richard Trevithick, the engineer, and daughter of John Harvey of Hale Foundry. She died in 1868. I say long-suffering wife of Richard because he tended to go his own way. He disappeared off to South America for 3 years to seek his fortune and came back penniless. And then he was working down in Kent, in Dartford area, when he died, and he's buried down there. So Jane spent quite a lot of her married life on her own. Elizabeth, the daughter of Thomas and Louisa Trounson, who died at Jericho in this parish, 1872. Another large memorial here under the trees. A lot of lichen on it from the trees, turning it green, but the surname is Rogers. Almost lost in the grass and wild flowers is this iron cross, and across the arms it reads T. Polk, age 72, 1878. Nearby is this other metal memorial. Across the top it reads Isaac J. George, died August 1877, aged, and then I can't see the age, and underneath it says Sires, so presumably Sires is the surname, and this is Isaac George Sires, 1877. Just behind that is another one of these very ancient roadside crosses, which has been moved to the churchyard here. It's always nice to get a story on these memorials. This is Joseph Birch, who died from injuries which he received in falling from a ladder in Wheel Squire Mine in 1851. He was just 22 years old. But despite that, at his young age, underneath we have details of his son, Joseph Birch, who died 1875, aged 23 years. He too died young. Mining was a dangerous business, and it was the major employer in this area, tin and copper mining. A horizontal memorial here, and this is Kitty, the beloved wife of Hannibal Ellis. Hannibal Ellis, what a delightful name. He died at Tunbridge Wells down in Kent in 1867. Another one of these memorials in metal. This one is William Hodge, 1880, could be 1888, aged 15 months. There are some more of these metal memorials which have been stacked against the tree here, and another one behind me. I would imagine that these came out of the Hale Foundry, such a large steel metalwork organisation. You don't normally find very many of these metal memorials, but the Hale Foundry would be an explanation for them here. I almost missed this one. It's overgrown with bushes, and I'm crouching down beneath a number of branches to see this, but it reads, within this enclosure lie interred the bodies of 6 persons who in the year 1832 died of the awful visitation of cholera. Sadly, they're not named. When you do come to the parish church in St Erth, take time to walk just a quarter of a mile up the lane and you'll find the cemetery. When the churchyard was full, they opened the nearby cemetery. And there are some nice memorials here. I'll have a quick look at one or two of them and we'll head back to the church. There is a war grave here. There is one in the church yard, but I couldn't find it. But anyway, there's one in the cemetery nearby. This is J. Maynard, Corporal, Royal Army Medical Corps, who died in 1946, aged 42. And at the bottom his wife has written, "In loving memory of my dear husband, rest in peace." This, I think, is the only angel in either of the two graveyards. Wings fully open, hand on her heart, and at the bottom we learn it's to Trevithick. Another war grave here. This is Sergeant J.K.W. Paul, who was a wireless operator air gunner, Royal Air Force. He died in 1942, aged 27. And beneath that, the family have added also in memory of W.B.J. Paul, aged 40, Chief Officer Merchant Navy, who died in Aden in 1943. Presumably buried in Aden. And another war memorial, this time in the Blackstone, and from the First World War. Private W.C. Trevithicks, Wiltshire Regiment, aged 29 in 1917. And finally, in this newer section, a very elaborately decorated one here, with leaves and an anchor. And it says it's William Henry, the beloved son of William R. and Emma Cargreage, who died on board HMS Osprey, 1900, aged 21. And there's an extension to this cemetery with all the new graves in. Let's head back to the church. Well, I will leave you at this point. This most beautiful, picturesque graveyard tucked away in the west of Cornwall. Certainly worth coming here and having a look around. Till the next time.